On the day I came of age, my long-lost sister suddenly reappeared after a decade. Kneeling before our parents, she pointed at me. Weeping bitterly, it was my sister who pushed me into the hands of those traffickers. She claimed everything belonging to father and mother was hers. I miss father and mother. I swore. I won't fight my sister for anything. I only begged them not to cast me out. From that day on, my reputation was utterly ruined. Everyone shunned me like a venomous snake. I tried every way to win my sister's favor, even kneeling on the ground like a dog, begging her. I hoped she would, for the sake of our sisterhood, clear my name. But instead, she stabbed me to death with a knife. In my dying moments, I saw nothing but mockery and contempt in her eyes. Fool. I was never your sister. Without you and your mother, everything in this mansion is mine. I am the sole legitimate daughter of the princess's household, and the betrothal to Prince Chin is now mine. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the moment my sister stormed through the mansion gates and knelt before our parents. Father, mother, these past 10 years, I've thought of you constantly. Forgive your daughter's disobedience. For all these years I've been absent from your side. Wah. I opened my eyes to see Song Mingzhu kneeling on the ground, clutching father and mother, her face drenched in tears. Her complexion was pale, her expression pitiful and wronged. That image overlapped with the hideous face I'd seen before losing consciousness. Twisted and deceitful. Back then, she stood high above me, crushing my fingers under her heel, plunging a dagger deep into my chest, laughing with wild, unrestrained delight. Song Xingyao, you foolish fool, how dare you claim the title of legitimate daughter of the princess's household? This position was always meant for me. You and your mother stole my birthright. Your betrothal should have been mine. You deserve to die. A faint stabbing pain in my chest reminded me I had truly been reborn. Reborn to the moment just before Song Mingzhu returned to the manor and destroyed my reputation. I glanced at my parents before me, tears of joy mingled with guilt streaming down their faces, and the murmuring guests. I surmised this must be after Song Mingzhu had undergone the blood recognition ritual with my father, confirming her status as my younger sister. Soon, Song Mingzhu would exploit my parents' guilt toward her, pointing at me and wailing. She'd claim that out of jealousy, I'd pushed her into the hands of slave traders, condemning her to a decade of suffering and ruining my reputation in the process. My heart sank as my mind raced, searching for a way out of this predicament. I refused to reincarnate only to face another miserable fate. In my past life, my so-called sister had schemed relentlessly to frame me and slander me, trapping me in endless passive situations. This was something I'd never been able to fathom. Now, living this life anew, I knew she was never my sister at all. I glanced at Song Mingzhu without giving myself away. There she was, glaring at me with venom, her eyes brimming with raw jealousy. Catching my gaze, she twisted her lips into a mocking smirk, pointed a finger at me, and opened her mouth to speak. A warning bell rang in my heart. Before Song Mingzhu could utter a word, I blurted out to my parents, "Father, mother, she isn't my sister." Silence fell over the entire room as all eyes turned to me. Song Mingzhu froze, a flicker of panic crossing her eyes. But she quickly composed herself, adopting a sorrowful expression as she faced me. "Sister, I won't fight you for anything. I only wish to reunite with father and mother. If you truly don't want to see me, I'll simply leave. Father, mother, take good care of yourselves. Don't blame your sister. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come back." With that, she rose to leave. My father grabbed Song Mingzhu by the arm, his gaze cold as he addressed me harshly. "You wicked daughter! What nonsense are you spouting? She is your sister, we've even performed the blood recognition ritual. And she bears such a striking resemblance to me. This cannot be faked. Do you refuse to accept your sister's return? What is your true motive? My mother stood nearby, wiping away tears, her voice tinged with reproach. Xin Yao, stop this nonsense. Today is our family reunion. Your words will break your sister's heart. She's wandered for 10 years, enduring untold hardships. Why torment her now? Even if your sister has returned, your parents still love you. Mother was so consumed by her longing for my sister that she clearly couldn't hear my words. I had to find a way to calm her down. Song Mingzhu nestled in father's embrace, weeping like a pear blossom drenched in rain, appearing utterly wronged. Yet the faint upturn of her lips betrayed the triumph in her heart. While father comforted Song Mingzhu, he shot me a look of disgust. My father has always hated me, I knew it since childhood. He'd call me a money-losing burden, saying I'd only be another family's burden once married. I'd thought he disliked me because I was a girl, unable to carry on the family line. But after Song Mingzhu returned, my father showered her with every conceivable indulgence, granting her every wish. Only then did I realize my father simply hated me. But why he hated me, I never understood. Until this moment, when everything clicked. Song Mingzhu and my father shared blood ties, bore a striking resemblance to him, and received his undivided favoritism. These facts couldn't be faked. Yet in my past life, as I lay dying, she had clearly stated we weren't sisters. She claimed my place should have been hers, that I had stolen it from her. So there was only one conclusion: Song Mingzhu was my father's illegitimate daughter. He had kept a mistress outside the marriage, betraying my mother's trust. The thought of this possibility filled me with sorrow for all the years my mother had sacrificed. My mother was pitiful. My grandfather and uncle had died subduing the barbarians, leaving her alone. The emperor, remembering their service, granted her the title of princess. Already struggling to manage the princess's estate as a widow, she faced further hardship when outsiders claimed her harsh destiny had caused the deaths of her husband and brothers. People in the capital kept their distance from her. My father came from poverty and barely attained the rank of scholar. Unafraid of these rumors, he showered my mother with affection, expressing his love through poetry and vowing to the heavens to protect her for life. Moved, she married him. To advance my father's career, my mother exhausted all her grandfather's and uncle's connections within the military, even donating half the family fortune to secure him the position of vice minister. Deeply moved, my father declared before all his friends that he would love only my mother for the rest of his life and never take a concubine. This became a celebrated tale throughout the capital, with everyone saying my mother was blessed. I once believed my parents shared a love as deep as that of mandarin ducks. Now, it seems utterly laughable. I stepped forward, took my mother's hand, and turned to face the gathered guests. Years ago, when my sister and I went out to play, we were targeted by kidnappers. To cover for me, my sister deliberately lured them away. I saw with my own eyes as the enraged kidnapper slashed her face with a knife. I pointed at Song Mingzhu's face. Look at this woman before you. Her skin is flawless. Not a single scar. How could she possibly be my sister? Song Mingzhu instinctively covered her face. My mother looked at Song Mingzhu with a mix of surprise and suspicion, then turned to me. You never mentioned any of this before. I hadn't, because it was all a lie meant to expose Song Mingzhu and my father's true colors. I offered a bitter smile. I didn't want to upset you and father, so I kept it to myself. Sure enough, Song Mingzhu grew flustered, glancing repeatedly at my father. A flicker of anger and frustration crossed his face, his gaze toward me growing increasingly displeased. Is it forbidden for your sister's face to heal perfectly, without any scars? Song Mingzhu also snapped back to her senses. I was so young back then. I don't remember these things. I don't even know if I was ever injured. Perhaps heaven took pity on me, sparing me from any lasting scars. After speaking, she squeezed out a few tears. appearing delicate and pitiable. I scoffed coldly, "Your skin is so fine and fair, it couldn't have been achieved without the finest jade complexion cream. That cream costs 100 taels per jar. The green cloud silk robe you wear is the latest fashion in the capital, 1 tael of gold per bolt. And those shoes adorned with pearls? Pearls of such lustrous roundness are rare, costing 1,000 taels each. Heaven truly favors you, bestowing such wealth. It's obvious all this was paid for with our princess's household funds." I paused deliberately between each sentence, watching Song Mingju's face grow pale and flustered. Prompted by my words, Mother scrutinized Song Mingju for the first time. As she studied her, a flicker of hesitation crossed Mother's eyes. In our past life, our family was so immersed in the joy of reuniting that we never questioned our sister's identity. We overlooked these details. Even finding comfort in her return, at least she hadn't suffered hardship. Now, thinking back, we were truly foolish. Even with Song Mingju acting so brazenly, we never suspected a thing. She truly exploited our longing for our sister. Wicked girl! Must you tear this family apart before you're satisfied? Seeing the situation escalate, my father roared, cutting us off. Is it wrong for your sister to live well? Must she suffer miserably for you to be happy? What dark thoughts haunt you? Why can't you bear to see your sister happy? Was it you who deliberately lost your sister all those years ago? Song Mingju understood the implication, her eyes brimming with tears as she added, "Wah. I never meant to speak up. But I never imagined sister would remain so stubborn after all these years. Still trying to frame me. Now I have no choice but to speak. Back then, it was actually you who pushed me into the arms of those slave traders. You said all our parents' love and everything in the Junju mansion belonged to you alone. And I had no right to live." Had these words been spoken before I raised doubts about Song Mingju's identity, my reputation would have been utterly ruined by now. Fortunately, I had already pointed out numerous suspicious aspects of Song Mingju's background beforehand. So now, everyone simply dismissed our words as mutual accusations. "Wicked daughter. You deserve to die." My father seized the moment, raising his hand high to strike my face with all his might. He clearly aimed to hit me full force. Had that blow landed, my mouth would have run bloody, leaving me speechless. Song Mingju would have seized the upper hand, solidifying her false accusations against me. Clearly, my father had reached the end of his rope. I scrambled backward, desperately dodging the blow, but my cheeks still tore open, leaving 2 bloody streaks. My hair, thrown wildly in the rush, fell into disarray, making me look rather bedraggled. Gritting my teeth against the stinging pain on my cheek, I fixed my father with a searing glare. "Father, you're threatening to beat your own real daughter over a fake one. Are you feeling guilty?" My mother finally snapped out of it. Shielding me behind her, she glared at my father, her eyes filled with reproach. "What are you doing? No matter what Xinyao did wrong, you shouldn't have hit her so hard." Impatience flashed in my father's eyes. "I'm just fed up with this unfilial daughter. She actually envied her own sister. At such a young age, she abandoned her own sister. Her heart is twisted. Doesn't she deserve punishment?" I chuckled. "Father, this person might not even be my sister. How can we trust her words? You don't believe your own flesh and blood daughter, yet you listen to a fake daughter whose identity hasn't even been confirmed? This truly broadens my horizons." My father fumed. "Mingju has already undergone the blood recognition ritual with me. She even bears such a striking resemblance to me. How could she be fake?" I chuckled lightly. "If she intends to impersonate, she must have prepared thoroughly. The resemblance only proves her preparation was more meticulous. As for the blood recognition, who knows if it was tampered with? Unless we have her undergo the ritual with Mother too, we'll never know the truth." My words caused both my father and Song Mingju's expressions to darken instantly. My mother seemed to regain some composure and nodded. "You're right. Xinyao. That makes sense. Seizing the moment, I instructed a maid nearby to prepare a bowl of clear water. The maid moved swiftly, returning within moments with the water. All eyes turned to us. Song Mingzhu burst into tears, her face flushed with shame and indignation, as if she'd suffered a grave injustice. I only wished for our family to be reunited, she wailed. But since my sister cannot bear my presence, I might as well die. With that, she charged toward a pillar, feigning a headfirst collision before collapsing unconscious. My mother, anxious, tried to rush forward, but I grabbed her arm. That collision of Song Mingzhu's was as fake as could be, anyone could see it. Mother was simply panicking out of concern. Mingzhu, my father, horrified, scooped her up and hurried toward the back courtyard. Quick! Find a doctor! Find a doctor! Before leaving, he glared at me viciously. Mingzhu is my daughter. No one questions her status. If anything happens to her, I'll kill you. You wicked daughter! My father's love for this concubine's daughter had reached this extreme. My coming-of-age banquet ended hastily. After the guests left in small groups, my mother pulled me toward the back courtyard to visit Song Mingzhu. But as soon as we reached the courtyard, we were stopped by one of father's servants. Master says second young miss needs rest. It would be best if madam and first young miss did not disturb her. The servant shot me a glance. Master also said first young miss must kneel at the door. She may rise only when second young miss forgives her. Before my mother could respond, the servant continued, there's no need for you to plead for the eldest daughter either. The master asked me to inquire, is the second daughter truly your flesh and blood? After enduring over a decade of suffering, how can you remain so unmoved? Is that the conduct of a proper mother? A cold laugh rose in my heart. My father truly knew no shame. Seeing the servant's brazen confidence, I grabbed my mother's hand and pulled her away. Behind us, the servant's voice dripped with contempt. The master said if the eldest daughter doesn't admit her fault, he will disown her. My pace didn't slow, it quickened instead. No sooner had we stepped out of the courtyard gate than my mother began scolding me. Xin Yao, you've been so strange today. Why did you speak to your father with such disrespect? And your sister, though she hasn't undergone the blood recognition ritual with me. I witnessed her doing it with your father. She resembles him so closely. It's unlikely she's not his. I know this is hard to accept. But I cut her off abruptly. Mother, I'll take you to see a play. All your questions will be answered there. Seeing how determined I was, Mother finally shut up and obediently followed me. Father forbade Mother and me from entering the back courtyard and had guards posted around it. This meant Father and his daughter were surely plotting something in secret. After all, with me as an unexpected variable today, they had to revise their plans. We skirted the front courtyard and approached the back gate. Slipping through, we smoothly reached Song Mingzhu's rear courtyard. This courtyard had been prepared for my younger sister by my parents. Over the years, servants had regularly cleaned it, but no one had been specifically assigned to guard it. Today was Song Mingzhu's first night in the courtyard. With my father's men stationed at the front gate, the rear courtyard was bound to be unguarded. Thus, we swiftly entered the rear courtyard and approached the window of the side room. As we drew closer, we heard the voices of my father and Song Mingzhu. My mother tried several times to speak up, but held back each time. We crept quietly to the window. The voices inside grew clearer, and through the window cracks, we could faintly see the scene within. At that moment, Song Mingzhu was reclining on a soft couch, happily eating fruit. There was no trace of her earlier pitiful demeanor. Father gazed at her with tender affection. Father, what if that bitch Song Xinyao suspects my true identity? Don't worry about her. I'm her father, how could she defy me? Madame Wu is soft-hearted and easily swayed. She believes everything I say. If I declare you her biological daughter, then you are her biological daughter. It's all because those people weren't thorough enough back then. We intended to eliminate both Song Mingzhu and Song Xinyao, but we never expected Song Xinyao to escape. But none of that matters now. In the coming days, visit Lady Wu often. Tell her about all the suffering you endured these years, how you went hungry, went without proper clothing, and endured all kinds of beatings. Make yourself sound as pitiful as possible. As long as you make Lady Wu feel sorry for you, she will stand by your side. Madame Wu owes you a debt. I'll whisper in her ear, and she'll naturally petition the emperor to grant you a marriage with Prince Chen. All you need to do is dazzle everyone at the palace banquet in a month's time. Everything else. Song Mingzhu beamed with delight, cooing at my father. Father, you're so kind to me. Once I become Princess Consort Chen, we'll have Prince Chen as our protector. We won't need to rely on Lady Wu anymore. Then we'll find a way to get rid of her, and Mother can enter the mansion with full legitimacy. Listening to their scheming inside, my heart sank deeper and deeper. Mother listened, tears streaming down her face. She bit her lip hard, not uttering a sound. Only after we left the courtyard did Mother finally break down and weep aloud. She cried for a full hour before regaining her composure. Her eyes burned with hatred. Your father is nothing but an ungrateful wolf. I will never let them off the hook. I said. Neither will I. Compared to Song Mingzhu, I hated my father even more. 10 years ago, it was he who ordered the assassination of my sister and me. Now he dares to turn against Mother too, truly a heart of stone. Killing them won't be easy, but it's not impossible either. After all, they're out in the open while we operate in the shadows. But that would be letting them off too easily. My father spent years deceiving Mother for power and status, while Song Mingzhu dared to impersonate my sister just to marry Prince Chen. The more they crave these things, the more we must destroy them. If Song Mingzhu dreams of dazzling the entire court banquet in a month, I'll shatter her illusions. After I refused to admit fault, my father disowned me, demanding I reflect deeply. He sent a steady stream of the mansion's finest treasures to Song Mingzhu's quarters, claiming it was ample compensation. I felt no urgency, rather relishing the peace. These possessions would be returned 100-fold in due time. For now, my mother instructed me to lie low. She had already dispatched people to investigate my father and his mistress living outside the estate. Mother found father disgusting and feared he might notice something amiss. So she claimed to be ill. She said the emotional roller coaster of finding my sister had caused her to catch a chill, requiring bed rest. To prevent father from passing on his illness, she had him sleep in the study for now. Father didn't suspect a thing. He even told outsiders it was I who had upset Mother into illness. He called me unfilial and disloyal, sparking gossip among the servants. Meanwhile, Song Mingzhu seized the opportunity to visit my mother's quarters every other day to tend to her illness, making me appear even more petty and narrow-minded. Each time Song Mingzhu came to care for her, she tearfully recounted the hardships of the past decade, all the suffering she endured. And at the end, she would always add, I hold no grudge against my sister for pushing me toward the slave traders back then. She was young herself, and though her actions were selfish, they were somewhat understandable. My mother was utterly disgusted, but fearing to alert the culprits, she could only appease Song Mingzhu with various fabrics and jewelry. Thus, to outsiders, Song Mingzhu appeared deeply cherished by our parents. Yet each time, Song Mingzhu would send the bulk of these fabrics and trinkets to my courtyard. Thus outsiders also said Song Mingzhu was dignified and gracious, showing me, her elder sister, utmost respect in every way. I smiled faintly, knowing this was Song Mingzhu's tactic. In my previous life, she had done the same. After our reunion in my previous life, she falsely accused me of being abducted by traffickers, ruining my reputation, and she played the same game then. At first, Many didn't believe I was such a person, but as outsiders witnessed her constant deference and caution toward me. The elder sister, while I supposedly guarded against her and hurled insults. The contrast gradually swayed them to believe her earlier claims. Especially half a month before the palace banquet, an incident occurred that solidified Song Mingju's slander against me, utterly destroying my reputation in the capital. Recalling this, I suddenly felt a surge of anticipation. So when Chenjing from my mother's courtyard summoned me, I knew the moment had finally arrived. As Chenjing and I entered the courtyard, a sweet, coquettish voice drifted from afar. "Sister, why are you so late? Mother's been waiting for you forever." I instinctively looked up to see a young woman in a moon-white gauze gown standing before the hall, none other than Song Mingju. Her face wore a gentle smile, radiating a bright and captivating aura. The moment she noticed my gaze, her smile vanished instantly. She immediately adopted a flustered and helpless expression, as if on the verge of tears. "Sister, I'm so sorry." I spoke out of turn. "You weren't late, I arrived too early. Please don't be angry with me." As she spoke, she backed away, looking utterly wronged as if I deeply wronged her. Her voice was loud, clear to every servant in the courtyard and to those inside the house. I knew exactly who she was addressing. She'd been this way in my past life too. On this very day in my past life, as I entered the courtyard with Chenjing, Song Mingju had put on this exact act. Back then, my reputation had been ruined, and I harbored deep resentment toward her. Seeing her perform this routine again, my anger flared, and I unleashed a torrent of abuse at her. No matter how fiercely I berated her, she maintained that submissive, wronged expression. The outcome was predictable. It only cemented my reputation as an arrogant, spoiled brat who bullied her younger sister. Even my mother, who had always believed in me, had words for me. Overcome with rage, I flung my sleeves and stormed out. Little did I know then that the person who came to our residence today to measure us for new garments was Huang, the head clerk of the brocade cloth shop. Originally an embroiderer from the Imperial Garment Bureau, Huang had become a sought-after guest among the wives and daughters of the powerful through her exceptional skill. Yet she had one terrible flaw, a penchant for gossip. So news of my tirade against Song Mingju and my storming out spread like wildfire throughout the capital. My reputation became precarious, and even the noble women who had once been friendly with me began avoiding me. Later, no matter what I said or how I knelt begging Song Mingju, everyone dismissed it as a ploy, a sham. Thinking of this, the rage in my heart nearly boiled over. Having lived this life anew, I now saw things differently. It only made me realize how foolish I'd been in my past life, how I'd failed to notice the blatant scheming in Song Mingju's eyes. Taking a deep breath, I offered a smile. "Sister, you look as if you've been wronged. Is it that my servants haven't served you well? Or have I mistreated you?" My words caught Song Mingju off guard. She hadn't expected me to be so calm. She didn't know how to answer my question. If she said the servants weren't attentive enough, then all her recent efforts to win people over by acting considerate and kind would be completely wasted. If she said I had bullied her, she certainly couldn't bring herself to say it. She had always acted gentle and considerate, carefully contrasting herself with me. To now accuse me of mistreating her in front of everyone would shatter her own image. But I didn't wait for her reply. Stepping forward, I took her hand and pulled her inside. "Let's hurry in. We don't want to keep Mother waiting." Song Mingju gritted her teeth in anger, but she had no choice but to follow me inside. The moment we entered, I spotted a woman around 30 taking my mother's measurements, none other than Huang, the manager of brocade clothing shop. Ever since we stepped inside, Huang had been eyeing us with obvious curiosity, clearly having overheard our conversation in the courtyard. I stepped forward and bowed respectfully to my mother and Huang. Song Mingju followed suit, calling out "Mother." Her voice was timid, as if she'd suffered much injustice. Yet her eyes fixed on my mother with expectation, clearly hoping she'd take her side. My mother glanced at us, then pointed to the fabrics on the nearby table. The fabrics are all here. You should choose some too. Attending the palace banquet means you'll need a new outfit. Song Mingju's expression stiffened again. She hadn't expected that even after putting on such a performance. My mother showed no inclination to question her. I smiled faintly, stepping forward to the table to begin selecting fabrics. Under Song Mingju's resentful gaze, I reached directly for the top bolt of cloth. Moonlight gauze, a fabric that glowed with a soft, moon-like radiance under sunlight, shifting hues with each passing hour of the day. It was breathtakingly beautiful, yet priceless, requiring reservations a year in advance. In my past life, it was this very moonlight gauze that Song Mingju wore to dazzle everyone at the palace banquet. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Song Mingju clench her fists in fury. Yet she forced a smile. Mother, please let my sister choose first. I'll wear whatever you pick, I won't compete with her. We're sisters bound by blood. If my sister is happy, I am too. I'll choose after she's picked hers. Even if the remaining fabric is inferior, it's still fine material. I've never worn anything this exquisite before, I'm already content. Hearing her words, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. This was her usual tactic, retreating to advance. She was playing the victim while simultaneously smearing me, hoping Mother would take her side. After all, in her eyes, Mother now felt deeply guilty about losing her for 10 years. By having Mother hand her the finest fabrics, she could maintain her image while humiliating me, a 2-for-1 deal. So right now, Song Mingju must be feeling quite smug, convinced she's got this in the bag. After all, I saw the excitement and thrill flash in her eyes. My mother slammed her teacup down on the table, her expression grim. I saw her hands clenching the embroidered handkerchief tightly, struggling to hold back her emotions. I knew she was furious with Song Mingju, but with Manager Huang present, she had to swallow her anger. Yet Song Mingju mistook my mother's reaction for concern, her eyes brimming with smug satisfaction. In that case, let Xinyao choose first. I think the Jiaoyue gauze would look lovely on you, Xinyao. It would complement your fair skin beautifully. Mingju, take a look at the other fabrics. If you find none suitable, you may leave the estate to select other materials. My mother's single sentence left Song Mingju utterly dumbfounded, her face frozen in a mask of resentment and frustration. Holding the moonlight veil, I smiled brightly. Sister, you look rather startled. Are you unhappy? Hearing my words, Song Mingju hastily composed her expression. Unfortunately, her true state had already been clearly observed by Manager Huang. Having once served as a palace lady herself, Manager Huang was naturally perceptive. How could she fail to see through Song Mingju's petty tricks? Realizing her loss of composure and her mind in utter disarray, Song Mingju hastily selected a random piece of fabric before departing in a hurry. Before leaving, her eyes were reddened, as if she'd been wronged. Feeling thoroughly satisfied, I offered to escort Manager Huang out. As she was leaving, I slipped a gold ingot into her hand. Thank you for your trouble today, Manager Huang. I didn't specify what trouble, but Manager Huang's expression showed she understood perfectly. She accepted the gold with a nod and a smile. The servant won't speak out of turn. I always tell it like it is. I gave a light chuckle and thanked her. If father wants Song Mingju to marry Prince Chen, then I'll make sure it never happens. I refuse to believe the imperial family would allow such a disgraceful person into the royal clan. Today, while selecting fabrics, Song Mingju put on airs and acted inappropriately. Within half a day, word of her scandalous behavior spread throughout the inner quarters of the capital's officials. Father returned home in a furious rage. When he arrived, I was discussing with Mother what kind of gown to make from the moon-white gauze. The door was kicked open violently. Father stormed into the room, his gaze landing on the moonwhite gauze in my hands. The crimson in his eyes nearly blazed. He pointed at Mother, roaring, "Is this how you raise a daughter? Mingzhu has endured 10 years of hardship. Not only do you show her no compassion, but you even aid this unfilial daughter in tormenting her. What is your heart made of? How can you be so cold-hearted and merciless?" Song Mingzhu followed behind my father, sobbing, wiping her tears. She spoke, "Father, please don't be angry. It has nothing to do with Mother. It's all my fault. I'm the one who coveted the Jiayue gauze and put Mother in such a difficult position." Hearing this, my father stepped forward to snatch the bright moon veil from my grasp. But my mother immediately stood in front of him. His expression darkened further as he glared fiercely at her. "Madam Wu, what do you think you're doing?" My mother didn't back down. "Song Zhao, what do you think you're doing? Give this bright moon veil to Mingzhu. I'll let today's incident slide." My mother rolled her eyes. "Whether you choose to forgive is your business, not mine or Xinyao's. With everyone present today, it's the perfect opportunity for Mingzhu and me to renew our blood oath. I'm genuinely curious to see if Song Mingzhu is truly my daughter. I refuse to believe my daughter is so easily swayed. Nor do I believe she's two-faced and insincere. Today is the ideal moment to test this anew." My father's furious expression suddenly froze, rendered speechless by my mother's words. Song Mingzhu's eyes instantly darted nervously. My father stood frozen for only a moment before snapping back, "What nonsense are you spouting? Mingzhu is our daughter, that's beyond question. I acted rashly today. With your lingering cold, it's no wonder you overreacted. This whole affair was a misunderstanding. Never again speak of Mingzhu not being your biological child. It wounds the bond between mother and daughter. Let today's events end here. Rest well, we won't disturb you." With that, my father promptly dragged the reluctant Song Mingzhu away. After they left, my mother spat at their retreating backs. "Hypocrites. Shameless." I looked at my mother. "You were truly formidable today, by refusing to give them any face. Have you already gathered the information you needed?" My mother nodded. "Indeed. Over the past half-month, everything that needed collecting has been gathered. After the palace banquet tonight, I'll make sure Song Zhao is utterly disgraced, shamed before everyone." I didn't ask what information my mother had uncovered. I simply waited patiently for the palace banquet. After all, in my past life, Song Mingzhu had staged a performance for me at the banquet. This time, it was my turn to prepare something special for her. The 15th day of the second lunar month marked the flower festival. Also the day the Empress hosted her banquet. The ladies of every noble household knew this evening feast was specially arranged by the Empress to select a consort for the third prince, Prince Qin. Thus, the marriageable young ladies vied to outshine one another in beauty and grace. I wonder what price my father paid to secure a piece of moonlight gauze for Song Mingzhu. When she stepped onto the stage in her white gown, her charming expression held a genuine spark of vitality. Holding her own among the noble ladies, Song Mingzhu seemed to have completely forgotten the events of that day. From the moment she entered the palace gates, she chatted cheerfully while arm in arm with my mother, presenting a picture of deep mother-daughter affection. The ladies and young misses nearby watched from afar, some whispering with lowered heads, others snickering softly. Yet none of this seemed to affect Song Mingzhu. She appeared utterly oblivious to it all. Only I, standing close by, could see clearly the veins pulsing on her temples. She was clearly seething with anger. Guided by palace attendants, our party of 3 took our seats at the central banquet table. "Mother, I'm sorry. Those days, I was foolish, trying to outsmart you. I was afraid you only loved sister and not me. Today I'm apologizing to sister. I promise I'll never do such a thing again." No sooner had we sat than Song Mingzhu lowered her eyes and offered her apology. My mother remained impassive. I offered a faint smile. It's all trivial now. I've already forgotten. Song Mingzhu flashed a smile, feigning emotion as she reached out to grasp my hand. Then let's remain the best of sisters from now on. I smiled but said nothing, quietly withdrawing my hand, feeling nothing but profound disgust. Just as Song Mingzhu was about to speak again, a shrill voice pierced the room as all the guests had taken their seats. Her Majesty the Empress has arrived. His Royal Highness Prince Chen has arrived. Everyone bowed in unison. The Empress, dressed in her imperial phoenix robe, glided forward, followed by a young man, dressed in brocade robes. He radiated dashing charm. His eyes shone with a piercing clarity, truly possessing peerless grace, none other than His Royal Highness Prince Chen, the Empress's own son. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Song Mingzhu's cheeks flush crimson, her gaze practically glued to Prince Chen. You may rise. The Empress spoke softly after taking her seat. The assembly hastily thanked her and took their seats. Though billed as a flower viewing banquet, this gathering was truly a selection for the Crown Prince's consort. Noble maidens from various families strained every effort to impress the Empress. When our Song household's turn came, before Mother could speak, Song Mingzhu rose of her own accord. Your Imperial Majesty, I, Song Mingzhu, have prepared the swan dance for your enjoyment today. Her voice trembled slightly with eagerness. The banquet guests snickered under their breaths, and the Empress discreetly frowned. Palace attendants removed the zither from the previous performer. Song Mingzhu shed her cloak, revealing a silver-white jiaoyue gauze gown. Her dance was mesmerizing. The color of her moon silk gown shifted constantly, while the butterflies embroidered on the hem seemed poised to take flight at any moment. Indeed, many were utterly captivated. My mother's face darkened, her grip tightening on the wine cup in her hand. I sighed. To possess such mastery, Song Mingzhu's instructor must be a renowned dance master in the capital. Years of training would have been required, costing a considerable sum. Mother had already investigated. Song Mingzhu's birth mother was father's childhood sweetheart. Her father was a down-and-out scholar from a poor family, certainly unable to afford Song Mingzhu's dance lessons. Father must have subsidized the expenses. More than the financial burden, what angered my mother was my father's favoritism. When I was 8, I too adored dance and begged Mother to find me a master teacher. My father coldly refused. Dance is mere frivolous skill, he declared. Why waste money on such things? I reached out and gently covered Mother's hand. Mother, I'm fine. As long as we're both well, nothing else matters. Mother nodded. Xin Yao, I will destroy Song Zhao's reputation completely. Just then, Song Mingzhu's dance reached its finale, drawing praise from the audience. Song Mingzhu lifted her head slightly, casting an expectant glance at Prince Chen seated below the Empress. Alas, Prince Chen didn't even look her way. Disappointed, Song Mingzhu returned to her seat, only to turn and regard me with a haughty expression. I feigned curiosity. Didn't you say these past 10 years were filled with hardship? Yet your dancing has improved remarkably. Song Mingzhu's expression shifted again. She stole a glance at my mother before hastily explaining. I feared bringing shame upon our parents. I learned this secretly over the past month. I smiled faintly, choosing not to expose her flimsy lie. Song Mingzhu then poured me a cup of wine. Sister, I offer you this cup. Thank you for not disdaining me. I set the cup aside. It was my duty. No need for thanks. Song Mingzhu picked up the cup again and pressed it toward me. If you refuse to drink, it means you still hold resentment toward me in your heart. I glanced at the cup, then fixed my gaze steadily on Song Mingzhu. Just as panic began to flicker across her face, I took the cup and drained it in one gulp. Song Mingzhu visibly relaxed, a strange, triumphant smile curling her lips. In my previous life, It was at this very banquet that Song Mingzhu had performed the stunning swan dance, captivating the entire hall. In that past life, without manager Huang spreading rumors everywhere, the noblewomen held no ill will towards Song Mingzhu. So after the dance, out of respect for my mother, they showered her with praise. That night, Song Mingzhu became the undisputed pearl of the banquet. Unfortunately, even in that past life, Prince Chen didn't take a liking to Song Mingzhu. Afterwards, Song Mingzhu threw herself into despair at home, exploiting my mother's guilt over her disappearance a decade prior to beg the emperor for a royal match. It was essentially draining every last shred of my grandfather and uncle's influence. Of course, that was later. At this banquet in my previous life, I became the scorn of the capital. All because, drunk, I was discovered making love with a guard in the imperial garden, and that cup of wine had been handed to me by Song Mingzhu. After 3 rounds of wine, a cuckoo's call seemed to echo through the darkness of the imperial garden. The sound was faint, barely noticed by anyone, but I heard it distinctly. I remained impassive, yet my peripheral vision caught the flicker of excitement across Song Mingzhu's face. She rose gracefully and addressed me, "Sister, I'm not much of a drinker. I fear I might embarrass myself at the banquet. Would you accompany me for a stroll in the imperial garden? It might help sober me up." I glanced at the garden, shrouded in the hazy glow of lanterns, and smiled, "Certainly." Her fists clenched slightly, her eyes brimming with unchecked triumph. She truly believed I was as foolish and guardless as I had been in my past life. My mother tugged at my hand nervously. I gently patted her hand, signaling all was well, and she finally relaxed. Passing through the Vermilion Palace corridors, the banquet's clamor faded behind us. The night breeze in the imperial garden carried a coolness and the fresh scent of plants. Moonlight flowed like water, illuminating the winding corridors like a floating jade ribbon. Song Mingzhu led me toward the most secluded lotus-scented pavilion. Along the way, only the rustling of our skirts brushing against the stone steps could be heard. From afar, the deep shadows cast by the rockeries beside the pavilion were already visible. I knew that was where she had carefully selected my guard. A compulsive gambler, found for her by my father. "Sister!" Song Mingzhu suddenly stopped, her voice laced with feigned concern. "Do you feel a bit dizzy? And somewhat feverish?" She stared intently into my eyes, searching for signs of disorientation or confusion. I halted, turning my head to observe her silently in the moonlight. Her urgency, her trepidation, her venomous anticipation nearly spilling over, all lay exposed beneath the cool, clear moon. I slowly withdrew the arm she clutched, fingertips smoothing an imaginary crease in my sleeve. My voice was as still as a pond. "Sister, have we arrived at the place you chose for me?" Her smile froze instantly. My words fell into the silence like stones tossed into a deep pool. The triumph in her eyes froze, replaced by a sudden, startled panic. "Sister, what do you mean by this?" She forced a smile, her voice betraying her tension. From the shadows came the faint sound of boots scraping gravel. A lurking figure emerged hesitantly, silver armor gleaming coldly in the moonlight. I chuckled softly, speaking indifferently. "I forgot to mention, I swapped your wine long ago. The things you prepared for me today, you might as well enjoy them yourself." With that, I shoved her forward. The lurking figure caught Song Mingzhu effortlessly. She tried to struggle, but he immediately covered her mouth and dragged her into the shadows of the rockery. Within moments, sounds of pleasure drifted out. I returned to the banquet unnoticed, exchanging a knowing glance with my mother. With a silent nod, I signaled her to proceed as planned. Another incense stick's worth of time passed before a clamor erupted from the imperial garden. I smiled faintly, knowing it was the eunuchs my father had stationed there, coincidentally passing by and now causing a commotion. Guests at the banquet kept glancing toward the imperial garden, The Empress and Prince Chen clearly noticed too, summoning a eunuch to inquire about the situation. The young eunuch returned shortly, whispering something in the Empress's ear. Her face darkened, and she rose abruptly to leave. The banquet ended in disarray. Before we even exited the palace gates, rumors began spreading among the noble ladies. Rumor had it that a noble lady and a palace guard had been caught in a compromising position in the imperial garden by a night watch eunuch. The noble lady had fainted on the spot from fright. The guard, deeply devoted to her, claimed full responsibility for the incident, pleading with the Empress not to punish her. He even severed 2 of his own fingers as an act of atonement before the Empress. The Empress, moved by his devotion, expressed her intention to invite the noble lady's parents for discussion. Should they raise no objections, she would grant the marriage. Hearing this news, I said nothing, though the coldness in my eyes threatened to spill over. It followed the script of my past life exactly, except in that life, I was the noble lady. Only in that life, I hadn't fainted from fright. I had been drugged while the guard forced himself upon me. But the guard and my father didn't want any complications, so they didn't want me to say much. My mother was stopped at the palace gate by a eunuch attendant of the Empress. She then followed the eunuch to meet the Empress. I waited at the palace gate for half an hour before my mother returned, carrying the unconscious Song Mingzhu. Seeing the imperial edict in my mother's hand, my heart settled. The carriage slowed to a stop before the Song residence. My father had been waiting at the gate. Through the curtain, I could see the calm assurance of one who held everything under control. My mother stepped out first. My father's expression instantly hardened. Where is that wicked daughter? Hiding after her disgraceful deeds? I told you this wicked daughter was a disaster. First she ruined Mingzhu. Now she's destroyed the Song family's reputation. She was born rebellious, willful and spoiled, showing no respect for her father, utterly worthless. Such a wicked daughter deserves to be beaten to death. My father's incessant curses abruptly halted when he saw me step down from the carriage, immaculate and unblemished, as if a duck had been clamped by the throat. Mother said nothing, simply thrusting the imperial edict into father's arms. I agree with you, a wicked daughter who commits such shameful deeds truly deserves to be beaten to death. After dropping that line, mother pulled me inside. Father, stunned, raced to the carriage, yanked open the curtain, and at the sight of me, tears streamed down his aged face. Then he abruptly blocked our path. Eyes bloodshot, veins bulging on his neck, looking as if he wanted to kill someone. Speak. What exactly happened? I clutched my mother's hand tightly, facing off against my father. Speak. What exactly happened? Why was Mingzhu the one involved? What did you do to her? My father's eyes bulged with fury. My mother spoke calmly. You should ask your beloved daughter that. Did you harm her? You truly have venomous hearts. This won't end here. Once Mingzhu wakes, I will pursue this to the end. My father was near madness, his face twisted with hatred. I smiled. Father is right. This must be pursued to the end. Mother will go to the Ministry of Justice shortly and have them thoroughly investigate how that guard could have colluded with my sister. Was he bribed? And those little eunuchs who caught them, they'll be questioned thoroughly too. Who assigned that guard to the Imperial Garden today? All of this must be investigated. I hear the Minister of Justice has a knack for solving cases. My sister deserves justice. My father's furious face suddenly froze. He pointed at me, speechless for a long moment. Mother sneered coldly. The problem is, if they dig deep enough, it won't just be Song Mingzhu who loses face. It might drag certain people down so far they lose their positions. The guard was my father's choice. Those 2 eunuchs were my father's choice. If no one investigates, it's one thing. But if the Ministry of Justice pursues this, the truth won't stay hidden. Arranging for someone to scheme against his own daughter at the Empress's banquet. Father's career is over. To men like him, the allure of fame and fortune outweighs familial bonds. When personal interests are at stake, even a daughter ceases to be a daughter. No need for investigation. This wicked daughter must have learned debauchery during her 10 years away. Since Her Majesty the Empress has granted a marriage, let us arrange her nuptials swiftly. Out of sight, out of mind. With that, my father swept his sleeves and departed. Watching his retreating figure, I turned to my mother. This is our chance to slip away unnoticed. Mother nodded, her eyes burning with hatred so palpable it felt tangible. Not long after returning to the estate, Song Mingzhu awoke. She stormed madly toward my courtyard. It's you! You ruined me! You worthless slut! Worthless! Several servants rushed forward to restrain her. Song Xinyao, just you wait. I'll make father have you killed. You just wait. My father and mother also rushed over. Seeing my father, Song Mingzhu's eyes flashed with hope. But my father avoided her gaze, ordering the servants to drag her away. Father. What's wrong? It was Song Xinyao who harmed me. What's wrong with you? Song Mingzhu stared at my father in disbelief. I stepped forward, looking at her with contempt, as if she were nothing but a clown. Don't you understand, little sister? How could you be more important than father himself? Unable to bear the blow, Song Mingzhu screamed. Why? I'm your favorite daughter. I'm your biological child. I'm prettier than Song Xinyao. I'm smarter than Song Xinyao. Why would you abandon me? Watching Song Mingzhu's frantic state, I felt an immense sense of satisfaction. My father clearly feared Song Mingzhu might reveal something, urgently ordering the servant to drag her away. I looked at my father. Sister seemed to have something left to say. Why the rush? Father? My father remained silent, his expression grim. My mother smiled. It's nothing. We'll question her tomorrow. She's not dead yet. If she truly has grievances, she'll surely tell us. My father's face darkened. He turned and left. At daybreak, chaos erupted in the mansion. When a maid brought water to Song Mingzhu, she found her hanging in the room. Inside, the maid also discovered a letter written in Song Mingzhu's own hand. The letter stated she felt too ashamed to face anyone and had chosen death. Hearing this news stirred not a ripple in my heart. This was my father, for his own sake. He would sacrifice anything, even his own flesh and blood. My mother began arranging the funeral rites first thing that morning. In the morning hall, my father appeared utterly grief-stricken, the very image of a devoted father. In the end, he even collapsed in tears. The physician came once, examined my father, and prescribed some calming herbal decoction. My mother personally brewed the medicine and helped my father take it. By evening, my father regained consciousness, but his mouth and eyes were twisted. He couldn't move or speak. The physician was summoned again. This time, he diagnosed my father as having suffered a stroke due to severe shock. Lying in bed, gasping for breath, he fixed his gaze on my mother and me. After the doctor left, my mother sat by his bedside. Ignoring his murderous glare, she smiled tenderly. My lord, there's no need to look at me like that. After all these years of your treacherous heart, it's time you paid for your deeds. You had a fiancé all along, yet pursued me relentlessly for your own advancement. Once you attained wealth and status, it was bad enough. But unwilling to be labeled as someone who climbed the ladder by relying on me, you plotted to kill me and our daughters. I've uncovered the truth. The real Mingzhu is dead, murdered by you and your mistress. I've dealt with all those who helped you abduct her back then. Rest assured, I'll reunite you with your mistress. My father's eyes shifted from hatred to terror, then despair, finally settling on pleading. My mother didn't even glance at him, merely waved for the door to be locked. Under the pretext of recuperation, my mother had my father's courtyard sealed off and took in a new concubine to attend to him. This concubine was none other than the woman he kept outside, Madame Wang. Upon learning of Song Mingzhu's death by hanging and my father's stroke, Madame Wang prepared to flee that very night. Unfortunately for her, my mother had her apprehended immediately. Fearful of death, Wang confessed everything and even offered to help my mother exact revenge, begging only for her life. She signed a contract selling herself into servitude, becoming my father's concubine. After moving in, Wang took it upon herself to care for my father, hiring a burly man in his 30s to assist her. The two were like dry kindling ignited by a spark, often emitting sounds that made one blush while tending to him. Right before my father's eyes, unable to move or speak clearly, he could only pound the bed with his one functioning hand. But it was futile, merely providing a soundtrack for the lovebirds. His days became worse than death. 2 months later, emaciated to skin and bones, he finally closed his eyes in bed. That very night, Mrs. Wang hanged herself to follow him. Thus, my mother and I had finally avenged ourselves and my sister. The end.